Hey, good evening, everyone. Peace and power and elevation be to all you beautiful folks. This is Tiffany coming through here live in effect. Tonight, I want to talk about the subject based on etiquette. What is the purpose of etiquette? And the difference between being bougie and having mannerism. All right. So, what inspired me to do this topic is because I've been watching videos about etiquette class, right? And I've seen a few sisters who have their own etiquette program teaching young women and young men about etiquette and how to conduct themselves, etc. But this one particular sister I've seen, this one particular woman, she's on TikTok and on Facebook. She has a program called From the Inside Out School of Etiquette. It's called From the Inside Out School of Etiquette. All right. And on her website, I'm trying to find the name of this sister. If I can, I think her name is Jackie Vern Thompson. Yeah, that's her name, Jackie Vern Thompson, right? So she has a website where she teaches etiquette class to particularly younger people between the ages of 6 to 17. And I think what she's doing is a very phenomenal job. I think this is great because it is needed and it's necessary. All right. Because you're teaching the step by step, the basics of what it means to have etiquette. And we all learned it when we was younger. We learned it from our grandparents in particularly, right? The elders in the community. However, for some reason, when we got older, we decided that we didn't want to use etiquette as much. You know what I'm saying? So I want to get into the definition of what etiquette means. Right. So etiquette, according to the Wikipedia definition, it means the set of norms of personal behavior in polite society, usually occurring in the form of an ethical code of expected and accepted social behaviors that accord with the conventions and norms observed and practiced by a society, a social class, or a social group. Right. All right. So I will explain what etiquette means to me. All right. So when we look at let's talk about the difference between having mannerism and being bougie. Now, to be bougie mean that you represent a certain class, particularly upper class, right? And those who are particularly bougie tends to believe that they have more to offer, right? They tend to be more condescending and have this attitude about those that are particularly in the lower class community. All right. That's what it means to be bougie. Mean that you think of yourself too highly and you seem to have a certain attitude towards other group of people from various class, right? And you think because you're in a particular class, you're better off and you're better than those individuals. Whereas mannerism goes back to etiquette, basically knowing how to conduct yourself properly, knowing how to have a better form of communication, right? Know how to act accordingly. All right, that's mannerism. And when people hear the concept of etiquette, they miss it. They get it intertwined with being bougie. They get it. They get it mixed up with the concept of being bougie, and they think, well, that's what it means. Like, you're talking about being bougie. No, you ain't gotta. You ain't gotta be bougie at all. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be from an upper class to learn how to have etiquette. Now, again, going back to what I was saying earlier, we learned these things when we were younger, right? As small children, we learn how to say please, thank you, excuse me, I'm sorry. For example, if you seen grown people talking and have a conversation, right? As a child, you didn't. It was rude for you to go and interrupt grown folks' conversation. What you were supposed to do is say, "Excuse me," right? Or when you see an elderly person trying to get a seat, you supposed to give your seat up for that elderly individual because that individual might have some form of disability, and because of their age, they're not able to stand on their feet for a long period of time. So you're supposed to, give your seat up for an elderly person and go sit elsewhere, right? And for the males in particularly, when there's a woman, you open up the door for her, right? Right? Or you let the lady go first. Then you go second, right? Or you help the lady get down the stairs or get up the stairs or whatever the case may be. So if you see the award shows, you know how the women, when they getting ready to go up the stairs to get their awards, there's always a guy helping them get up the stairs because a lot of times they wear heels, right? And you know how it is wearing high heel shoes, you can fall and hurt yourself if you miss one flight of stairs. But it's those things that we learn growing up as children, right? Those basic things. And also the most important etiquette, we learn to respect our elders, not just our parents, but our elders. You know what I'm saying? We learn how to talk to them with respect. Even if we don't agree with everything they say, we learn to talk to them and listen to what they have to say. But however, when we became of age, we threw all that out the window. We said the hell with that because we in a new society. Well, no, not new society. We're in a modern time. Times have changed. Things are different. We don't do it this way no more. And that's where the problem comes in. Because now there becomes a debate whether you should pretty much learn how to have etiquette. Now you got all these debate on the internet when it shouldn't be any type of debate. Because if you learn as a child, right, and you carry those information throughout life, then it wouldn't be a bunch of complexity. However, because it's complicated and we're on social media, we going back and forth about what it means to have etiquette, what it means to have mannerism, or should men do this, should women do this, whoop de whoop de whoop. You know what I'm saying? Because of the direction of the cultural practice. But let me tell you what etiquette means for me. The purpose of having etiquette, the main purpose of having etiquette is not to just be a person who has proper mannerism, right? But it's all about discipline. Nobody ever thinks of etiquette as a form of discipline, having self control. Even in martial arts, there is etiquette. Even in martial arts, there's etiquette. When you when you see your opponent, right? After you get done fighting, whatever, you bow down to your opponent or you give him a handshake. That shows sportsmanship. That's a form of etiquette. How to deal with conflict is a form of etiquette. But again, we don't think of etiquette as discipline, as self-discipline, as self-control. We think of it as being bougie or being high and mighty. And it's not always about being so high and mighty or looking down on other people. It's about being able to have the form of self control and discipline and how to be able to deal with a conflicting situation, especially in a professional field. And I'm gonna explain why I'm doing this because when you go on the job, right, it's supposed to represent professionalism, especially when it comes to managers. But This is what we have to ask questions. Well, what is professionalism? And what does professionalism consist of? Well, I'll tell you what professionalism is consists of: etiquette. And I can tell you, when you go to these jobs, most of these managers or people in a higher position of power, they don't always use etiquette. When you go to a job, right, you feel like you still in school, like you in high school, but it's a bunch of grown people that's at a workplace, but it feels like a high school setting. Why? Because people are just having casual conversation, being themselves, right? And they don't always approach things in a professional manner. However, here's the catch. When you go to a job interview or you go to a job orientation, you learn about etiquette. You learn about the appropriate way of dealing with conflict. You learn about appropriate a way to respond to your manager or supervisor. You learn about these things at a job orientation. How to deal with conflict with another employee. Not everybody's going to use it because depending on the job setting, you're under a lot of stress. And when you're under a lot of stress, you're not thinking about using etiquette. You're not thinking about responding in the proper manner. You just want to vent, get it off your chest because you're tired, you're stressed out, and somebody done got under your skin. And I'm guilty of that myself. I could be honest, I don't always use etiquette. I'm guilty of that myself because I'm so used to being introverted. I'm so used to being to myself. And I'm just so, when I respond to things, I can come off in an aggressive manner unintentionally, or I could just be too casual with it. I could just be too laid back when I respond to things, right? So I don't always think to say, hey, okay, you're in a different position now. You can't respond like this. So sometimes, I mean, a lot of times I slip up. I'm gonna just be honest, I slip up. And what we have to do is we have to go back to the principles. That's why we have principles, and this is why we have culture, because culture set a foundation, a boundary for us to learn how to be able to maneuver in life, how to live through circumstances. This is why people, when they go into the concept of spirituality, and once they go through the process of initiation, right, they start acting different. They start carrying themselves different. They start to feel renewed, rejuvenating. Why do they carry themselves differently? Why do they become rejuvenated? Because they have went through the storm, as we would like to call it, the storm. They have went through the process of being able to do the shadow work, right? Being able to do the internal work. Once they do the internal work, then they start to progress over a period of time and start to become a different person and have a different outlook and better attitude about life. So with etiquette, it's supposed to teach us how to maneuver in life, how to have a different attitude, how to go about responding things, just like stoicism. Okay, so etiquette teach you, in a way, it teach you how to be stoic. It teach you the Yoruba concept, which is called itutu, which means to be cool, right? It teach you these things because that way you can be able to alleviate the amount of stress on you. That way you won't be very belligerent and out of control. But in this generation, especially, they have got so comfortable of being so liberated to where they feel like saying anything or doing anything is acceptable. And it's not always acceptable because it shows that you lack discipline. You have no self control. But see, when we say that, we criticize our ancestors, we criticize our elders for teaching us these things, right? We call them traditionalists, we call them old school, and we don't look back and even think about, well, what was they trying to get at? What was the initial purpose of them teaching us these cultural values, these principles? Why are they teaching us these things? Because that way we can become more productive and become better. If we learn how to have some form of etiquette, and you don't have to be over the top with it, you don't have to be very extra. Here, I like my tea this way, I like my tea that way. Oh, I don't eat like this. I like to eat this way. I want my fork to be like this. I want my spoon to be like this. Like, you don't have to be over the top. You don't have to be so extra. But you got to have the discipline. That's the most important concept. So if you don't take away anything else, just know this. When you have etiquette, you pretty much got discipline. And etiquette can go a long way. It don't just confine to one particular thing. It goes a long way. So I want to give this sister a special shout out because I think she does a phenomenal job. She doing a great work, and hopefully the kids in her classroom can take on the lessons and apply it to the everyday life, right? Because it goes a long way. It's basically life skills, right? Now she does teach about how to properly eat and how to sit and things like that. But she basically teaching the life skills that is needed, something that we all had learned growing up, but we did not apply these tools. Okay, so I think women like her are doing a very great job. And again, the website is called From the Inside Out School of Etiquette. You can find it on TikTok and Facebook. The sister's name, once again, is Jackie Byrne Thompson. That's her name, Jackie Byrne Thompson. And she does a phenomenal job. I think I think what she's doing is great and it's necessary, it's needed. It's needed. So I think she's doing a great deal for our community. You know. However, that's all I wanted to talk about. I hope you guys get something out of this video. And with that being said, make sure you guys subscribe and hit the notification bell, share the channel, like the channel, check all my previous videos out. Until next time, peace and power elevation be to all of you. This your girl Tiffany, and I'm logging off. Be safe.